Now, I want to get into now is the tones, vibrations, and frequencies. Tones, vibrations, and frequencies. The first thing you have to think in your mind when you see anything in existence, you're seeing something that's vibrating and something that's resonating. Regardless, I don't care if it's a human being or a rock. Everything has purpose and everything is vibrating on a specific frequency level. Problem is with this society, we see things based on shapes and color. Okay? And we differentiate based on shape and color, which is a poor form of education. We don't see things on a vibratory level. And we have to start seeing things on a vibratory level. Second you have to get into your mind is that the frequency of this earth, the frequency of Tanun that we live on now, it is based on F sharp, the F sharp. And I'm quoting from Tones, Sounds, DNA, and Molecules, Vibrations, Frequencies, Universe, Earth, U, which is the actual fact, number 18. And this is page 1, verse 4. It all relates to the notes in form of F sharp chords, F sharp chord, which we Tamarans recorded as the harmonic of this planet Ta-Nun. Okay, F sharp, this is me. F sharp is the tone of this universe. Okay, and when you go back 17 million years to the pyramids at Giza, those pyramids were vibrating from 19 hertz down to half hertz, and that's being the range of humans or the tides that were living at that period of time. Okay, this is these were the Ogdads, that were the reptilians that evolved into the 4 feet tall pygmy beings or Nubians that were here at that time. Because remember, Khufu's pyramid, he was known to be the ones who renovated them, not the ones who created them. This is 17 million years, Neolithic period. And that has to be known as well. Remember, when you're also thinking about what's vibrating and what's resonating, you're thinking about sound as well. And so also when you see a human being or anything, you're seeing sound. Sound exists on certain levels that we may not be able to see with the physical eye. If one thing you have to remember too, that sound that Khufu's pyramids, the 3 pyramids at Giza, it was a sound that was resonating that you would not be able to detect with your normal touch of your nerve in your ear, but it was still going on. Okay, it's the example of, let's say you take a bottle, a Coca-Cola bottle, and the wind goes over that bottle, and it makes a specific type of a sound. Okay, it's the same thing as there's sounds of the universe that we're not able to hear. Same thing with dogs. The biggest example is the dog. The dog you might have what's called a whistle, as we call the dog whistle, and you'll blow that whistle, and that dog will respond to that whistle. That means that dog is responding to a sound that is on a different level, or on a lower level than it is to us. They might have TV shows and commercials and movies that they would display this sound, but with us, we thought it was a joke, but no, this was a sound that dog, that goes back to Anpu, or the jackal, or the Wepwawet, was able to resonate on without being detected. Follow. The next thing, as I said before, is based on the name. My name is Wepwawet, which resonates with the Wepwawet, the ancient ones. Your name may be Seshong. Another brother's name may be Har, maybe Asaru. Whatever name you use will resonate with your ancient ones. Whoever had that name last, it will resonate with your ancient ones. Okay? Same thing as a person having the name Ralph or the name Muhammad. Whoever had that name prior to you, even if they are alive, when a person says that specific name, every being who had that name will respond to that name, whether dead or alive, they will respond to that name. Okay? That is the biggest thing that we have to understand, is that you have to get out of using Hebrew names, Arabic names, and English names, because you're connecting yourself to dead energy, to dead ether or ghost ether. You follow? That is extremely important. Again, I'm going right back again just to remind you. F sharp, I want you to do your research. F sharp is the resonation or the vibration of this planet. You follow? The thing is that another problem is the music that we listen to. We all are being trained now to think on a lower level. The music we listen to is a very odd, as I said before, it's a very odd pitch, very odd tone, and it's now become what we call sex music. Hip hop is now sex music, whether homosexual sounds, homosexual tones, or just very overtly sexual with our women. But it's sex music, and it's resonating now on the lower level, on 1. We're trying to get back to 9, the ninth principle, and we're at 1 right now because of the music that we are keyed into and we are infested into, okay? And what's happening is those gates are now being opened up because of the music that we're listening to, and those lower level gates. The more you connect yourself to a sound that is not resonating with who you are on an ancestral level, the more you are connecting yourself with a demonic tone or pitch. Okay? That is a negative, and we have to get out of that. Again, I keep saying it over and over, but we have to get out of those tones and those pitches. The best way to get out of that now is to surround yourself with, this might sound crazy, it's classical music. Classical music, African music, music that is connecting you back to who you are, and because again, music can get us in the mood for certain things, whether it is to fight, to have sex, to go to sleep, to work out. The music is moving you, because music is a vibration. It's a pitch. It's a sound. And because this music is controlling what we do, then we have a problem, because we're not in control of self, and we're not in tune with our own frequency. Thing is that I want to get right into page 4. I'm going to page 4, verse 21. So in fact, all frequencies turn out to be particularly related and can be pleasing or painful, can make you sick or heal you, give life, cause death, build or destroy. Number 8 as in 8 octaves. See, we're supposed to be at the 8 octave. We're trying to, the main thing of A-E-U or A-E-O was to get us to resonate back on that 8 octaves. That was one of the main jobs of my father, Dr. York, was to get us back to resonate on the 8th octave. Okay? And one of the main things he did back during Ansar days was to bring back the lud or the oud. And the lud or oud was something that Hamza el-Din would use at times. If you would go online, look up Hamza el-Din, he would use something that would look like a guitar to a lot of people who are uneducated on what a lute is. But what we would do back in ancient times, we would actually use the lute to heal each other. When our nervous system was messed up, or we had a lot of mucus in our system, or if we were just sick, we would basically hit the strings, and it would cure us of whatever sicknesses we had in our system. That's a lost art. So when we listen to classical music, remember, classical music puts you in a very relaxed mind state. It's a very relaxed state of mind. It's not like, the extreme of that is something like a Megadeth or a Nirvana, which is a lot of, well, not a lot. That's the resonation that the 6th ether or Caucasoid is vibrating on. And he's getting us, or he already has us, those who are unaware, to vibrate on that tone. That's a problem. You follow? I'm going to go into the Caucasoid tone on page 5 of the same scroll. Starts off this way. Pa Tanum Hayul, or seed of Caucasoid, want all to speak on their tone. Listen to how they speak, not from the solar plexus. Yet, from the nose to affect your nose's yea, the bunch of sweet-smelling flowers, a symbol of what you breathe in and how the smell affects your whole being. So they wish all to talk as they do. This is Noology, Science of Disease, or he is a nosologist of nostalgia, house of sickness by the nostril. Now stop and listen to how they speak. Listen to where the sound is vibrating from. Their noses or snout and or mang. And if you look up leprosy or Hansen's disease of leper and how it affects the nose and breathing, Leviticus chapter 12, chapter 13, in their Bible, how leprosy affects the skin tone, hair texture, Leviticus chapter 13, verse 30 in part, or transforms one from Negroid to Caucasoid. Also, leprosy affects the nervous system. Nerves, which affects the skin, rashes, impulse to motion between the brain and other parts of the body. Now look at words, nerves, and nervus or navus, meaning birthmark, pigmentation of skin, which is why they drink so much, smoke so much, and take all kinds of drugs to calm their nerves. Okay, I'm going to go on to 25 on why we built the pyramids, why we did what we did. What we did was build structures that utilize the electromagnetic and harmonic effect, which work with unison, with each other and you. 26, we built in symbolism, power, and grandeur, yet also universal, harmonic, and paramagnetic power. Okay, I'm going down to 27. Once they transform, they will once again use both sides of their brain. You got to realize we're only using one part of our brain, really only 10% of our brain, in perfect balance and be at one with Papa, again, the all, and the universe, and its field of resonance or rhythmic frequency of this universe is F sharp or 1.665 x 1043 Hz, the key resonance. Once the full use of brain and barytheric gland is restored, there will be the interaction under the influence of F sharp, actually allowing the transference of energy, sound, tone, vibration, and colors, images, and voices beyond this realm. Note, in their Mosesism, Jesusism, Mohammedanism, when they chant, all being Caucasoid or subraces of them as in Southeast Indians, who influenced the Muslims chanting. They even call the system ghunna, or chanting through the nasal passage to vibrate in the nose or nasalized sound, all in the religious chanting for Jews, Christians, and Muslims are in those tones, a buzzing sound, because most of their noses are closed and blocked. You follow? That's the reason why they have us under their tone, because they can control the way we breathe and our tone. I'm going into page 6. Anyone have any questions before I go any further?
About the subject?
Yes.
Nothing right now.
Okay. No problem. I'm going into page 6, and this is verse 31. Negroids receives tones and vibrations from Pa-Re, the sun, and of course Pa-Najumat, the stars, which are suns, while the Caucasoid and other non-Negroids only receive reflections from Pa-Ah, the moon. No direct light or vibration, only reflections, no sound or tones. Why they have no rhythm and are not rhythmic, and again need to make you Africans with soul convert your dancing and singing to change what they do. and the noise they call music, which is yelling and howling. Now look at Negroids, moving and sounding as they do. It's his plan to steal their soul by giving them wealth, to act like them, or teach them. Now they want to mix that their 6,000-year moon cycle is ended. Okay? Everyone knows what that means. That means that they are trying to put us on their frequency and on their tone. We have to break away from what we know as being a recognition of what their tones and what their frequency is, their music and everything. Everything now is being turned into their form of music, and this is all, of course, done on purpose. Okay? This is verse 35. And, of course, your own energy waves can carry Outformation into you as information. That of Pa-Nazaru and the universe of nature. These waves impart is Wu-Nuwaupu Outformation genetically and psychologically into you. Outformation, I'm defining what Outformation is. Outformation is things that are that are outside of our being, that are outside of the Earth's realm, that are outside of the comprehension of the Caucasoid. And so a lot of that information that is being brought to us now is what's called Outformation. The thing is that our frequency has to be opened back up on F sharp in order for us to receive the information, receive it into the molar, into the top of our head, down right where at the 8 octaves, at 8, which is 4 and 4, and we're able to receive this information at that particular time because we'll already be opened up because we're already at 8 and 8. Okay, going down to 36. You must become balanced, genetically linked to your own genes, not other races, but with your own resonance, frequencies of your own Egyptian African ancestors, linked to the universe and beyond, and then and only then will you be able to understand the Outformation you are receiving. If not at a conscious level, what you eat, wear as color, things you alter on your body, who you exchange body fluids with, kiss, sweat with, sing with, or along with. All these can move the dial and like the dial on a radio or a channel on TV. The slightest shift and you get white noise off your own station so you can't hear nor see the Etherians. Now I'm going down to 39. Link to the nervous system. Why each has their own music and movement. Linked to a network of nerves that send signals to and from the brain, and it is the brain that is the cognitive functional part of the body. It is the brain that accesses the conscious, the subconscious, and even goes on to create the unconscious. Verse 40. You become what you think you are, and to believe or believe you are. What you put in your body, why they advertise in drinking lots of etheric alcohol and untune you, or mixing your body fluids with anyone to untune you to your powers. That is not good if you think outside of your genes. Okay? We have to be the ones that now will allow my father, Dr. York, to realign ourselves with our frequency and, more importantly, of course, our tones. Tones are now being given. And so we have to be there to receive our tones. And that is where we are now. We have to, number one, the first step now is, again, the first thing you have to do, this is just my steps to give people back to getting back on their own frequency, is to give up the TV watching, give up the indoctrination, because the first indoctrination is the television, because it's frequencies, sounds, and vibration that is affecting us head on. And we have to let those things go, or our ancient ancestors or our ancient ones will not be able to make clear contact to us. We have to be able to do these things. Okay? We have to give up the alien religions. As I said before, give up the alien religions. If you're still making a freak or a vibratory level, because everything is on a vibratory level, and every religion is on a lower demonic level. And as long as you are vibrating on that demonic level, you cannot make your way back. Okay? This is where we are right now. And again, if you're trying to realign yourself, truly trying to realign yourself, you have to disconnect yourself from anything that's of a sixth ether force, a Tanum Hayu living field force, or what you perceive as white people. And you have to get back into an African way of life, and you have to release yourself from anything that is influencing you on a demonic level. Remember, again, when you see a human being, you may not be able to see their tone exclusively or see their aura, but you do see it. You will see sounds. When you're on that level, you're able to see sound, you're able to see vibration, because anything that, again, regardless of, I don't care what it is still on a vibratory level. It's still resonating with something. And we have to get back to the 8 octave. And that is, again, his focus was to get us back to the 8 octave. And we have to be able to resonate back with this earth. This earth is already going into a whole different paradigm based upon December 2012. And we have to be aligned with that paradigm at this present time. Any questions before I end the class of tonight?
Yes, I had a question. You was talking about saying the music and everything. Now,
yes.
Now, why do you say classical music? But besides African music, like what kind of classical music you talking about? You talking about something like what, Beethoven, what, disco? Not disco, but like old R&B or classic hip hop. Like, okay, yeah. Now, why exactly Beethoven? Not only because he's a talent, but like why exactly him? You know.
Well, Beethoven, but I'm just saying Beethoven. You mentioned him based upon the chords that he was hitting. The chords that he was hitting was resonating with a lot of people, and he was connecting people to a specific frequency. Okay, when we talked about classical music doesn't involve synthetic sounds. I talked about tones last year when we were talking about hip-hop and things like that. We're talking about the synthetic drum. You know, classical music usually only uses maybe 1 or 2 instruments. And the purpose of classical, that's why I call it classical music. It's really, what they're saying is that it's classical African music. You know, because it's pretty much every form of music that you're looking at now, nothing but a carbon copy of African music, or African people that created it. So, just matter of fact, like, if you have to listen to hip hop, at least have it something that's conscious, something that is putting you in a certain type of conscious level, as opposed to a Drake or Lil Wayne or something like that that's going on a demonic pitch or a demonic sound or a demonic frequency. So yeah, go ahead.
What about the brother Tupac? You know, how you consider him?
I think that at a certain point, he was vibrating on a certain frequency that wasn't on a positive level. I think that he's been influenced to do that based upon the record label he was on. But his earlier work, prior to the All Eyes on Me and things like that, he was more of a revolutionary guy, more of a positive guy. I've listened to his music on a very close level. You know, but at a certain point, I think he was being influenced to go on a very extremely negative level.
Okay.
So I got more into, you know, if I did listen to rap music, it was the MF Dooms or the Wu-Tang or the Afro Ras and the Nas's and stuff like that, as opposed to stuff that was more based upon violence and sex. But I got more recently now into like the jazz and the classical and the African music. Just let that play as I went to sleep for specific reasons.
All right. Yeah, I was saying, and then you said another thing about, you said another vortex opened in 2012, right? So basically we're in a 10-year period, right? Until
the vortex opened this year. It was supposed to open this year.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm talking about the paradigmal switch happened 2012, December 2012.
So what do you mean paradigm? I'm not familiar with that term.
Paradigmal switch of the planet. the switching of the planet of remember this planet switches its molecular structure a certain amount of cycles, and because we're at the 25th cycle, that cycle is going on, the 25,000-year cycle, that cycle is happening right now. And what was going on in 2012 was nothing but a switch in the paradigm of the Earth. This is if you go into your Holy Tablet, this is in the Human Beast chapter. When you read the Human Beast chapter, it's going right into what I'm talking about right now. When it's talking about the whole light beings and the frequencies and things like that, it's going right into that. When it talks about super melanin and things, by that time it was predicted that we were supposed to be already at that level, but we're not at that level because of things that happened during May 8th. But it happened anyway. So being here in 2003, everything was supposed to happen when it was supposed to happen. It happened when it was supposed to happen, but we just weren't at that level. But this year, from 2003, as you mentioned, 2013, 2023, those are the 10-year period of the vortex. So yes, this year was supposed to be the vortex, but last year was the switch of the Earth's molecular structure.
Now, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm not trying to sound like conspiracy theories. Now, I do know Doc, speaks in metaphors, because I do know when he's talking about molecular structure, it's basically saying some of the minds, like right now we already know war is about to come on the United States soon. I mean we already know hostility between China and the United States and everything else. Now exactly what time is like supernatural disasters is just going to happen to the point where the United States is not inhabitable no more, or to the point where we got to get to a certain place because the planet is going to start changing. And it's literally going to kill people off like it did the dinosaurs, or almost similar to that.
Mm-hmm. It's systematic. It's not a specific day or a specific period of time. These are just systematic periods that the Earth is going through right now. So it's about us being prepared right now, as opposed to waiting on a day. That when it started was 2012, and it's now continuing. From that point on, we have to be prepared on a vibratory level first, and be in touch with the ancient ones and inner self, so that we will be able to survive. The biggest thing was there was so many different hints of how to protect ourselves and how to be prepared and be in tune with nature, but we were so in tune with everything else that we missed that point. We missed those classes and we didn't pay attention to them. So it's time to start paying attention more to self and what self is telling you. That's what it's about right now. Just being more prepared and being around like minds that are already prepared, because it's not going to be 1,000 people. It might not be 100 people. It might just be between 10, 15 to 20 people who are ready. We're going down from 144,000 down to as much as that can fit inside of a station wagon. And we gotta be more prepared. It's a daily struggle. We have to be in tune with what's going on and stay focused. Because everything is going on right now. It's just about staying focused and being prepared for everything that's happening around you.
All right. And one last question, by the way. And I understand this is more of a touchy subject for you than it ever will be for me. Now, I've been talking to you time to time for class. I don't know what's exactly going on in Louisville with our brothers and sisters down in Georgia, but is there any plans on treating your father? Anything? Because I have not heard nothing. I'm not going to ask how he's doing. I just want to know if there's any plans of freeing the master teacher other than what's been going on for the last 10 years. Because it's like I said again, it's ridiculous that he's still up in there, and we're supposed to have all this information to get him out. Is there anything going on to free him?
Right now that I know is one person, that's Dr. Z.York, is working on what he's doing in terms of the whole that I know of the sovereign thing. That the thing is that what he's working on takes a long time to take that to develop. It's not an overnight thing. It takes a couple of years for that to take place. I'm working on different things myself. I'm not going to broadcast it, It's just that I'm working on them, and those that want to get on board, if they want to talk, we'll talk. But I'm not going to put my stuff out there like that. But as far as a lot of work being done for him, there's not a lot of work being done. I'm just going to be honest with you. I just know of what he's doing. I know about as well the sister Sakina that's based in New York. She's working on the medical transfer right now. That's another thing. There's a lot of things that we worked on over the past 10 years, 11 years, or what have you, that just didn't work. And I think that it just comes time to be honest with ourselves and just weigh out our options. That's really all it comes down to. Just weigh out our options and see what we can do now.
Yeah, because I thought a long time ago they said the sovereign thing was not going to work, and it was doing everything else. So I see everybody's back to the whole sovereign thing.
Right. I don't know. It didn't work before, so I don't know about right now. I don't live on hope, faith, or belief. I don't wait on anything. My thing is, okay, if you're doing that, okay, keep doing it. But I'm gonna work on what I'm working on, and she's gonna work on what she's working on, because we don't have much time left. And that just needs to be known. So I'm glad you asked that question. So, yeah.
Right. Thanks for answering my questions, bro.
No problem, brother.
Everything in existence is sound. Everything in existence is vibration. Everything in existence is tone. Always remember that, or just remember that this planet Ta-Nun vibrates on the F flat, and now it going back into that, or us going back into a certain paradigm. Certain things will have to be pushed out. Certain sounds, certain tones. That's why the devil has decided, or is running rampant, to make who is a part of nature, meaning those that are the melanite people, non-ether people, especially those that are us, to get us resonating on their frequency. That's one of the biggest problems that we face, is our frequency. We have a kundalini of problems that we're wrapped up in, but that is our biggest problem if we are planning on making any form of a transitional state on the next level. And we have to get our tones together. And I'm back in the actual fat scroll, which is tones, vibrations, and frequencies. If you can, if you already have a copy of it yourself, you can. It's the actual fat number 18, papyrus number 18, Mayatag 18, and I'm on page 14. And please, if you don't have it, that's fine. I'll be able to quote from it and give a further explanation of what's being said. And this is page 14, verse 79. You see, when the thalamus gland is stimulated, the subconscious seems to yield more information, and according to many psychics or adepts of higher learning, it is with the aid of the crystal, or indeed the magnifying effect of Palmyr, the pyramid, which makes it possible for the energy information to be picked up by the mind radio in the head. The pyramid had an effect or contact with other worlds. So in other words, what was talked about last week was, when you are on your right frequency, you are able to receive outformation and perceive it as information, or bring it in and digest it as information, if you're on the right frequency, if you're on your right tone. If you stay within the tone of Ta-Nun, or get back into the tone of Ta-Nun, because we have been thrown off for over 6,000 years. Rahubat, for over 6,000 years. And so he's making a connection to dealing with the pyramid. If you ever look at any pyramid, or I'm going to give you a perfect example, on Atum-Re, any one of our pyramids that we had, the capstone was a crystal. And that crystal made a connection to Sirius Star, or the Sirius Star constellation, because we were still making contact with the ancient ones. and we're able to receive certain frequencies back to where we were. Those that were there can attest to this. And I'm going to go down to page 15, verse 83. Those of your own genes are speaking to you from the other realms. You just have to learn how to tune in to their same frequency. Once you do that, you can hear them and feel them and even touch them or visit them, or they visit you. Okay? It goes right back to what I said. We have to be on the right frequency. Frequencies are real. You know what I'm saying? This is not spookism. This is not any of these things. This is right knowledge here. And so the thing is that the devil knows that once the individual is on the right frequency and it's on the right tone, they can receive any information from the ancient ones at their disposal. I'm going to go down to verse 92. So, in fact, life is nothing more than waves, sounds, light, or a form of illusion. Okay? So, again, just because, we are all waves, sounds, and tones doesn't mean you still may not feel anything. Somebody's still going to punch in your face, you're still going to feel it. But the reality is this. Again, anytime you see anything or anybody, always look at it as varying degrees of sound, energy, waves, and vibration. I say that several times to get us into the mindset that the thing is, when you're looking at the 9 principles, the problem is a lot of us looked at it as steps to get to. In reality, all were related. Every level on the other side of things are related. You're on a level yourself, but those that have made their transition are on another level that's on the other side of things. Same thing with the plane of force that stimulates our growth and vitality. It's just another level. Verse 93, nothing you touch is really solid. All things are vibrating, and the speed by which things vibrate determine how dense a thing is or is becoming. So the reality is this. Things are based that I mentioned before when you talked about touch, getting hurt, or things like that. These are all mental faculties. It all comes down to how mentally strong you are. Not to say, okay, well, look, if I shoot you, you're not going to die. No, that's reality. But the bottom line is this. When you take it to the next realm, it is all just about sound and waves and energy. You have to think on a certain level in order to get to that certain level. In order for an individual to get to a certain point, they have to see that, they have to have that implanted in their minds. A lot of things has been taken away from us. That's part of amnesia, to have certain things taken away from you, your abilities to get to a certain level. You follow what I'm saying? It's the same principle as if something was to happen to you when it comes down to a physical accident where your life was taken away, where you were shot, these type of things. If this was to happen to you, what mental state were you in? Were you a person that was scared, or were you a person that was prepared for anything to happen to you? These are two varying poles of emotions that a lot of us battle with every day of our lives. So that has to also be thought about. I'm on page 16 now. Now bear in mind, this is verse 101. Now bear in mind, Nuwaupians, that the resonance of the planet Earth we call Pa-Ta Nun is the same 0-40 hertz spectrum as the human mind. Go down to 110. You yourself, as part of the laws of chaos, Isfut, and order, Ma'at, are no different than those stars you are made up of. You are made up of the exact same atoms, cells, elements of light, life, energy. You are putting out signals which will continue as wave matter particles even after you have died. Each have their own zero time reference of existence, unique to each one, as each humanu and humanmu has their own zero time reference. Once a sound is made, it never really dies, only change volume or vibration and tone. All right? All it comes down to is transitional states. Whenever a person has lost their physical, which is nothing but bacteria, all it comes down to is a transitional state. It's time to make that transition. It all comes down to where you are and within self, whether it comes down to emotions and whether it comes down to your frequency. All these things have to be aligned perfectly. Verse 112, all of creation of life is life waves that pass down in vibration to Cheminu Ogdods, underwater soundless, to Subzetu Enads come out onto land. Verse 113, now begin, it goes back about 9 billion years to another abode called Subzetat, Sirius star systems. It had 3 major suns, Sirius A, Sirius B, and Sirius C. On the last Sirius C, that abode, the beings had reached such heights that they did not need their vast technologies. Most of those beings were past the need of rebirth, and others of them were already transformed into Etherians, move on to the mental abode of existence. Verse 116, after 9,000 more years, except those beings that abode who lagged too far behind to attain transformation. The many Etherians from that star system, Sirius C of Subzetat, advanced in one moment with all the higher beings of all the other abodes, being one with the universe onto the 4th abode of existence. Those lagging beings who had to remain behind were deprived of every iota of higher levels of becoming Nadiru because of their attachment to the physical things of their world, just as those here on Pata Nun, the earth, will also be left behind because of their physical attachment to their bodies, lust and material things, greed, focus, and pleasure. And so when you just think about that for a second, the main purpose of us as humans, or whatever name you want to call us, the main purpose of us that was pointed out in the Stargate, Mayatat, or actual fact, was that we will have the ability at some point to be able to make a transition or physical transition from one state, from physical onto any, or from basically we can go from 1 to 9 at any given point in time. That is our purpose. Once we are able to vibrate higher, once we speed up our vibrational level to where we once were as the ancient ones, then we're able to achieve this status. That is reality. The problem is too much of us, as we always talked about, for as long as we've been in right now, as long as we've been in Nuwaupu, attachment is what keeps us there. And the main attachment that we have is the attachment to worship. It's not so much attachment to TV, attachment to a male or female counterpart, attachment to shoes, attachment to physical things. It's the attachment to worshiping apparitions. A lot of us still have this thought pattern that the ancient ones are things that you can't see, hear, smell, taste, touch, or feel, when you're the manifestation of the ancient ones. So anytime that you see yourself, you're seeing a manifestation of the ancient ones. You are that. So it's not about spookings, it's not about worship. The reality of it is we were the ones that were worshipped as the ones that were shapeshifters, and now we're the ones that are worshiping a shapeshifter. So we're out of our right state of mind. That comes down to getting back in your right state of mind, to no longer look outside of self for worship, but realize that you are worthy of being worshipped. So the biggest thing now is it all comes down to vibration. It all comes down to what do you see yourself as. Whatever you see yourself as is your reality. If you see yourself as God and in control of how you vibrate then that's what you'll become. But if you see yourself as someone who needs assistance in certain things, and we all need assistance from my father, Dr. Malachi Z.York, to get to the next level, but at the same time, you are still responsible for what happens to your body while you're still here right now within self. You know what I'm saying? You don't need a babysitter with your body anymore. You at the end of the day, within the all, within Papa, you are responsible to make that transition. You follow? You should no longer be worshiping images of whatever names you want to call God, Allah, Jehovah, Yahweh, Adonai, Jesus, Muhammad, all these apparitions. It should be no need for worship. If you want to worship atmosphere, then you will be physically stuck here, because within that, fear is created. Fear is created because you fear some type of retribution if you don't bow. And so a lot of people took that same ideology because things didn't go right for themselves, and they leaned on that ideology of fear. So it comes down to changing your mentality. It comes down to changing your thought process, to realizing, okay, if this is something that was able to be done by my ancestors, and I'm a manifestation of my ancestors, then I can do this myself. So it all comes down to how you perceive things. It all comes down to also how you perceive self. That's the reality. And I'm going to go to page 18, verse 120. Others are lost in time, will dissolve as its Sirius sea, which collapsed into nothingness, and the lower beings that were sent to other planets like here. Verse 124. Again, all things vibrate, each on its own level. Each color vibrates, each form of matter vibrates, atoms, cells, etc. 125. All is sound and music. There is good for you sound or music, and there is bad for you sound, tones, and or music. Even the sound of a person's voice can upset you. Verse 126. Your given name or title is a tone or sound of music that is vibrating. It becomes you, or you become it, and links you to that vibration and all the forces, beings that are on that same tone, sound, name, be they good or evil. This is why speaking your own language, Nuwaupu, is so important to your being. The names or attributes you call on as deity to come and affect your well-being. And again, I want to go over that just for a second. Those that have been able to make a transition into whatever order they're in to get, or that are fortunate and are able to get a new name, to leave the English name alone, use that name. If you have not been able to get into an order, just wait. Once you get in, then you'll be able to get that name. But names are very important, as I said before. Whatever name you're being called on, that will connect you to whoever else has that same name, whether dead or alive. Just think about that. You know, for me, my born name is Ali. My physical born name is Ali, but my resurrected name is actually Wepwawet. That was given to me by my father. So that is what, from here on, I want to go by, because that's connecting me to ancient ones as opposed to connecting me to Islamic stories and et cetera of the Ahlul Bayt. So, again, that is very important. We have to get to that level. A lot of us are there, but a lot of us are not there. Verse 127. Now, each race is a genetic code and or vibration. And I'm going to get into the Caucasoid race, and I'm going into 129. The Caucasoids decide which music become hits. He will pay the Negroid to make sounds that will cut them off or make them kill. He will only allow in the sounds tones which he can use against you. If you don't make what he wants and or needs, he will, if he likes your look, takes your tracks and reproduce them and add tones. He will, one, choose Negroids who hate self and kind to become companies and give them sub-labels, shoot videos or cinemas that help his cause and destroy your mind and children. He loves gospel, hip-hop, but hated reggae or African music. So no, Negroid movie star or rapper or producer is there because they are good, not at all. He will only pay them big money if they further his plans of opening up the underworld and giving over Negroid souls to Shezmu, the carnivorous flesh eaters. Once on this abode, they move by emotions through existing beings, open to them by emotions in many kinds, the way music makes you feel. Shezmu, for those who don't know, would be the Pleiadians or Ashtar command. And so just think about that for a second. All the artists, the Negro artists, the converted black devils, these are people that are opening us up to different frequencies that are not naturally who we are. And I talked about this last week. We have to be able to reject those frequencies. You know, the new hip-hop that's out today, which is, as we know now, is really just basically sex music. So they're vibrating on a lower frequency, on a lower level. So just because they're doing it doesn't mean that we have to follow along with that in order to stay in a certain crowd of people. We can let that go if we would like to. You have to want to let that go. And so that's the reality. It comes down to getting into African music, reggae music, which are things that we can identify ourselves with. We can identify ourselves with what hip-hop music is today. That's why most of us who listen to it, we go back to the old school music of 20 years ago or, 25 years ago when it was at least informing people on things that they should do for themselves. Whereas now that tone is not the same. So we have to get back to at least incorporating some type of African-sounding music or some type of music that hasn't been corrupted. Because even if you run to gospel, people say, well, that's music talking about God. But then again, that six ether force is running through that music all day. So we have to be able to get away from that as well. Verse 130. And as you know, Negroids were the first human who created or incarnated or materialized on this abode. So they vibrate with natural nature. And again, we have to get back to realizing that we are in tune with nature or that we are a part of nature. Shezmu's ancestors, the Caucasians, they are not a part of nature. They were something that was created for just an eating purpose. So the whites that you see today, they weren't created to last as long as they did. They just mixed in with us and prolonged their existence. Okay? And we have to realize and know who we are as people of nature. As long as once we get back into that mind state, then we will be okay. And then all of your frequency or our frequency will be intact. We have to be able to reject whatever, because wherever it is and wherever we're going, wherever you walk, when you go outside your door, it's an influence. His system is an influence of his frequency. And so you have the ability to push that frequency aside if you want to, but you have to connect yourself with some type of music that connects you to the mother, to Africa. Any questions before I go on?
I got a question, brother.
Go ahead.
The book that you're reading from, or you quoting the different verses or whatnot, what's the name of that book? Because I would be interested in, looking it up for myself.
Okay. It's called Tone, Sound, DNA, Molecule, Vibration, Frequencies, or just look for tones, vibrations, and frequencies, and it's called Actual Fact number 18. Just look for the tones, vibrations, and frequencies scroll.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, no problem. couple more questions?
I have one question. Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so like when some of the music you said we listen to, it gets back on the right frequency, you know, and reconnect us. How about like nature music? Just listen to nature sounds. If you can find stuff like that, does that help?
I'm sorry, sister. Repeat your question.
Okay. Can you hear me? Wait a minute. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Is that
I
better?
get you. Yeah.
Okay, so I was asking about like the music. It's like it reincorporating, you know, natural music, you know, our music that connects us to our ancestors. Nature music, you know, just listening to like you can find tapes or whatever, or even just sit outside at night and just listen to just nature and you know classical music, that sort of thing you're talking about. Music that has not been authenticized.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, like live bands or like
that's a very good example. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Go on.
Right, because one of the main things I wanted to point out, I'm glad you asked that question too, because you have a time, if anyone has the tape, Who and What Are You, you have something called a beat and a ret. He talked about the beat and the ret, and the beat and the ret and the tick and the tock. The beat and the ret, in between beat and ret, there's an inner doorway that the devil has been able to open up. And that inner doorway was for the watchers or the ancient ones to come in at any given time. And so the devil has been able to open up that dimension. He's been trying to tap into that dimension. That's why you have movies like if you ever seen a movie called The Mist, the Stephen King movie called The Mist, that movie is referring to what they did. But there's different doorways. There's different doorways to lower abodes, upper abode and lower abode. But between that beat and that ret and that tick and that tock, that is a whole different doorway to different beings that live on a whole different level of timing and frequency. And they were connecting themselves not to our ancient ones, but to demonic ancient ones on the next level. And so they'll realize that music now doesn't even count that inner doorway, that beat between the beat and the ret. That's not even counted anymore. They don't even talk about that. They don't even teach about that. The next level, or that inner doorway, or as we like to say, for lack of a better word, the fourth dimension. So yeah, it is very possible to connect to that next level without having to, as we like to say, you have to die first, you have to go to these different things. They've been trying to tap into this for years. That's why you have to read books like Man from Planet Risk and Shambhala Agata, because he's giving you information as what they've been trying to do to connect themselves to their ancient ones, which is the Plateians. You know, the Plateian information about the Ashtar command was necessary. That wasn't spookism. That was necessary information to get you prepared, because Hitler was in contact with the Plateians or the Ashtar command or the Shesmu ancestors or Shesmu. That was his doctrine. Those that he came in contact with, they were the blonde-haired, blue-eyed, shape-shifting reptilians. He was responsible for teaching this to the world about the blonde-haired, blue-eyed perfect being, because he met him. You know, he met what he would deem as his ancient ones. And so we have to realize that we met our ancient ancestor here that lives through my father, Dr.Malachi Z.York, as him being an avatar. And I want to clear this up. He is not from another planet. He's from this earthly realm, but he is an avatar that is able to receive certain beings within him. You know, I've known this for myself. You may not have seen it, but I've known this for myself. So it's not a fact to you, but it's a fact to me. Okay? My thing is, I don't want to let anyone go on a spookism level. Let's just deal with truth and just give my experience on what I went through myself with an ancient one that lies within this man here on the ancient level, or on this Tanun level that we call Earth today. Any questions before I go on to the next subject? Okay. I want to cover this, which is the last part of, well, it's on page 21, but it's a very prevalent part of this book, and it needs to be known. There's a lot of us that know this already, but I want to go into this even further. It goes into verse 137, page 21. Also, the adverse forces know that sound waves affect the living being and can control their emotions. Further down, and when you live in an environment surrounded by adverse forces of six etheric beings or other races other than kind, you are slowly transformed into their vibrations, and you begin to blend in and become one of them and lose your natural nature in connection with your own heavenly help. Verse 138, eating their fake foods, dressing in their fake fabric, listening to their fake music, trying to talk and sound like their fake sounds and voices, their fake colors, their fake metals, under their fake lights, you become out of your mind and in his mind. In time, you can no longer contact your own mental realm because you have become one with them and their world. Look at how the slave master has transformed his Negroes. So, one thing is for sure. You are one person, and I want to point this out. Again, a lot of us have already known this, but this also still needs to be pointed out. You are one person, and you as one person had a mother and a father. And your mother and father had a mother and a father, and et cetera, and et cetera, and et cetera. That creates what we call this 4 generations, okay? Within those 4 generations, you have 30 personalities. What you do, you are responsible for within self, but at the same time, you are a manifestation of your ancestors, as has been pointed out. So a lot of times, the things, the actions that you exude are manifestations of past ancestors that have lived before you. So what you have to do is you have to be responsible for your genetics, meaning that habits that you think are yours, that are habitual, that you feel you can't get rid of, whether it's being over-sexual, whether it's being into negative music, or being into foods that you know you should have been letting go for years. A lot of that is because of being in control by your ancient ancestors within the 4th generation. So it comes down to being in control of self. And not only just being in control of self, but being in control of the ancestors that lie prior to you being here. So you have to be, so an action that you are exuding that you're feeling like, man, I thought I kicked this habit. I thought I kicked, smoking weed or drinking alcohol. You within yourself have been able to do it, but a lot of times those ancestors are trying to make their way back on this physical abode, and so what they'll do is they'll use you within certain actions to take over your body. And so what you have to do is you have to do further study of your ancestry to find out, okay, where are these negative habits coming from? It's somewhere hidden within your ancestry, hidden within your genes, that is making you exude certain types of actions or certain types of different things that you can't let go of. That's a reality. And so you have to be able to push that off. You have to be able to push that off, and you have to be able to be in control of self, because self is connected to all of the ancestors, because all of the ancestors is responsible for self. It's all connected it's all connected together. So you have to be That's when it really becomes, who am I really? If I'm God, then I can be in control of these ancestors, whether negative or positive, because we have negative ancestors that's responsible for us as well as positive. That has to be accepted, and we have to be able to control that situation. Any questions?